Welcome to That's So Rad podcast. I'm your host, Travis Vongsness. This is a podcast about people, their passions, their life experiences, and their stories. As writer Frederick Buechner once said, the story of any one of us is in some measure the story of us all. All of us can learn something valuable from someone else's life and their stories. Join us for another conversation where we learn, laugh, and leave, seeing our own life in new ways. What's more rad than that? Hey, welcome to another episode of That's So Rad podcast. Stay rad, as my hat says. So we're going to find out about more radness in the world today. Joined by my friend today, Danisha Keating, who actually comes to us from SoCal, correct? Okay.
Yes. Which
is the origin of the word rad that we talked about in a previous episode. So the boys have talked. Yeah. The skateboard surf scene. Late 70s. There we go. There was a guy that wrote an essay on rad, and he's like, yeah, the word rad couldn't have come from the Midwest. I'm sorry. Corn, soybeans, and
no.
So
it's a California thing.
Exactly right. So Danisha and I, we kind of know each other a few years back, starting probably just in the podcast world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with America's Kids Belong, and we had you on to talk about your story and your journey. So we're going to do a little of that today as well. Mm-hmm. I was trying to think of some of the things you and I have in common besides podcasts. Self-publishing authors.
Yes.
Yep. We're going to talk about one of your books. I thought you were the oldest of your siblings, but you're not.
No, I'm the fourth oldest, but a lot of people assume that.
But are you the oldest girl or
no? I'm the third oldest girl, and I'm the fourth oldest.
Fourth oldest, and you actually
I'm one of 11.
See, that's okay. So I have 6 siblings in ours.
Okay,
and
with
usually,
big families.
Yep, big families, but like 11 though. I mean, that's
a whole twice.
That's
twice.
Okay, so we have that double. Yeah, that's a big van. That's maybe 2 vans.
It was a big van.
Yeah,
it was a bit of many vans.
So, what I'm curious, before we get more into who you are and your story, what is something that few people know about you?
About me? I mean, I do sing and play guitar. People don't know that. Let's see. I was a theater and band nerd in high school when I was put into public school. But what people don't know is that we had like a half-acre land, and I actually like raised chickens and ducks and rabbits and pigs, and I actually did like the chicken and collect it all. Yeah.
Does this growing up as a kid?
In California growing up.
What? Yep. Mm-hmm. Dang, I mean, I just said all the things we have in common. I'm farm life, just like me, but
collecting eggs every morning. They stunk. We had a rooster named Rocky. I mean, like he was a bully. That's why we named him Rocky, and he would fight us. And the day that we got to, it was the best day of our life. Because I mean, this rooster would go at our face and like try to poke our eyes out. They were mean.
I believe it.
But he was like the worst, like because he was a rooster and he was so old, his like chicken was not tender, but like really hard and like rubbery and like hard to eat and very like, it was just not the best chicken. And I was just like, well, that makes sense.
Yeah. So like you couldn't even enjoy.
No.
Like even to
enjoy the
death and the eating of his.
Yeah.
Where are we going in this? The kill. Okay. So,
but yeah.
And wow, I did not know. Did
you
enjoy?
Don't know that, and they're like, "Wow, I like
being a farm kind of that."
Like
kinda?
I didn't like how much it smelled, because literally, most people do it right where they have like farm land, and it's separated from their home. It was literally like concrete, plat like in the back where it was just like where we sat, like our little patio, and then it was just yard, and it was just farm animals.
Okay.
And I think I liked the gardening. That was pretty fun. We grew like melons and cucumbers and corn.
Cool.
And I thought that was really interesting to learn how corn actually like came on, like it grows up and it's on the branches and you'd pick it. But like right behind our house, we had a neighbor who had horses and a cow. And so one of the stories that me and my siblings will be like, do you remember when the cow like tried to attack us?
Dang.
And our goats would run into our home? Like, it was the farm life, and I did like it, but I think what was hard about it was when it was like West Nile virus went around for a while, and our whole flock got they got the bird disease, and that was the hardest heartbreak, I think, walking out and realizing like, oh, our chickens have this disease and they're dying. So that was a little scary.
I feel like kids that grow up on a farm, especially with livestock, like you lose some of that childhood innocence quick. Yeah, just with your animals and like the world, like death and I had like I think that's where like the no emotions came from for so long. I was like, like I don't get attached to animals, like even cats and dogs. But that's also, I think, because there was just, there was one dog that we had for a really, really long time. And then like, I was like, I just won't get another dog because it's just, I don't want to get attached. Yeah. No, I hear you.
One day I'll get an animal. Yeah. Oh, I also owned a turtle.
Okay.
I had a turtle. My dog ate it.
And your dog ate it. Oh my gosh.
He was a
vicious circle of life.
It was so bad. I was like 8th grade when this happened. But he was a mixed dog. And so one of the mixes that he had was like a hunting dog. And so what he would do is he would take his prey and bury it for later. And so I came in my room and he came in with a black nose. And sure enough, I was like, oh no, turtle. The turtle is gone.
How would he have swallowed the shell?
He didn't swallow it. He just
shelled it like a...
He just picked it up and then he went and buried it. And then he did it to our birds too. My sisters had birds, like these little yellow birds. And he picked them up. He didn't kill them. He picked them up and he went and buried them. Because he was the dog. This dog... I guess the breed of the dog is one that is a hunter, but what they do is they store their food. So they hunt, they put it away, and then they eat it later. Gotcha. So he would do this with bones too. Is like anytime he would get bones, he would bury them and then he would save them for later. So we found the shell years later when he went and dug it up.
So he's a breed of prepping dog.
He backstabbed me. I loved that turtle and never got attached to an animal after that.
Man, that is rough.
I was like so mad at that.
And your prepper dog. That is
my stinking dog.
This is true.
The hound dog.
This is true. Okay, I forgot to ask you this already, but tell us just a little bit more about yourself, family, anything else you want to say about just person.
So I'm a mom of 2, both NICU babies, both preemie babies, both 6 weeks early, which was hard. The last one we had, Asher, he was born in January of this year. And that was just going through that twice was like, dang, this is rough. Guardian of 5 of my siblings. 3 of them were under the age of 18 when I got them. I was 24 when I did that. I'm 36 now, and I feel so much older than what I really am. And not wisdom wise, just like physically. Like I'm like mentally and physically, I'm like, I feel like I'm like 50, 60. I feel like when I had my kids, I felt like I started over. My daughter's 3.5. Okay. And my brother is 22 or 23, and he still lives with us. A lot of people don't know that. He was 12 when I took him in, and he's in 23 now, I think. I think he's 23. Married. My husband is a musician, and we do our small business together. Cool. We do lots of cool things together with that. But big background within the foster care community and creating space for real hard conversations. Just because I know that I just feel like it's either really, really, really hardcore. Or just I want to create content that is a grabbing audience but not real truthful, and then the other issue is just it's a lot of just doom scrolling, like panic content. So I'm like, I want to have a real conversation with people.
That's awesome. I think we have very similar ideas of our podcasts, which we just did a podcast swap. So this is fun.
Yeah,
Real
we did.
conversations. This is another real conversation.
Yeah.
So that's a great setup. And I love the farm story. I did not know that about you.
I'm like, yeah, it's pretty fun. It was wild though, because it was definitely like, oh, like, I mean, that's not, a lot of Californians don't have that experience.
No, I was going to
Southern
say
California specifically.
I was going to say, yeah.
But we lived in where we just had a half-acre yard, and we were able to do that. And that's something that I think that, like, sometimes I'm like, man, I wish I could do that again.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, oh, the upkeep.
Right.
I'm the adult now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's fun. It is fun to go and get eggs in the morning.
Yeah.
And have that. But then you learn a lot. There's a lot of circle of life that you learn real fast with caregiving for animals.
There's that. And, but I kind of one of the themes on this podcast, I've kind of this thing of going back to, like, I'm middle-aged, some older than you, some, I mean, I'm 46 here, but there's been such a, like, for me, like, nostalgia kind of going back. So going back to kind of explore where I came from. And so I've had, some cool conversations in that, but one of them is, like, for me, and what you even just said, but how we are formed not only by experiences, but by even, like, geography, by the land, by being a farm girl, farm guy, just that shaped us. Like, there were things in that even that shaped who you became from some of that
absolutely.
stuff. So,
well, and I think too, I think that's why I'm like, I can relate to different people a little bit better. Because a lot of people would always be like, you're not, even where I lived at the time, people were just like, where are you from? From here.
Right.
But the girls around me would very much Valley Girl conversation. They're like, oh my God. And I'm just like, I would be like, I'd walk away. I'm like, oh my God. Like, I was definitely the movie where it was just like that girl who was like
clueless
and everybody else. Like, all the TV shows and movies that always portrayed this girl who was just like a real down to earth girl and around people who weren't that. I the hardest part, I think, within my school that I attended was that there was a lot of gang life. Because that's where a lot of people moved from Los Angeles up to San Bernardino County area.
Okay.
But we had riots. We had people bring weapons to school. We had people stab each other. Like, there was a gang riot in my sophomore year of high school where we were on lockdown for 6 hours. And so it's just wild that it's like, I've kind of lived, like, someone told me, and my husband says this sometimes too. He's like, if I didn't live with you and, like, know most of your story and, like, see the evidence of your story, I would think you're making it up.
Sure.
Because it's too movie-esque. Like, people write stuff to make the exaggeration. You don't need the exaggeration. And I'm like, accurate statement.
Wow.
Yeah. So, there are times people are like, did that really happen? And I'm like, here's the proof. Here's the CPS record.
Yeah.
Here's the stench of the house.
It was that bad.
But it's heartbreaking. It was that bad. But I think also the other thing people don't know about me is that I can be really positive and really, really not positive.
Yeah.
I could be, like, really excited for something and then be like, and it's doomsday. That's just, I could have like rainbows and kittens, and then I'm all like, and it's dark outside. Like, that's just, I have to fight my brain on that all the time. It's pretty sad.
It's all the spectrum. It's everything all together.
It's a little bipolar. I used to think, because I thought that way, I was like, am I bipolar? And what I've found is that it's actually, that was what I grew up in, was the negative, pessimistic. And then I was, like, but anything's possible. And then that broke. That
a
part
foot
of the
in
spirit
both
was broken
worlds.
for a little bit.
Sure.
So when you have a foot in both worlds, you can see both sides.
Sure.
And then you don't want to hope too heavy for good stuff, because then you're like, I'm gonna get my hopes up and be crushed. And I'm like, I'm learning that that's okay. Yeah. To have that.
No, it's a great thought. Okay, well, that's a great setup to where we're going next. So
cool.
And it's what we're not going to try to do is, have you try to even do justice to the arc of your story and kind of where some of this has come from. So I don't know if, there's a way you kind of feel comfortable with a flyover, sort of because what I want that to do is get into your book, which we're going to talk about, Taking My Voice Back. So do you want to just you share sort of however you feel you'd like
my
to.
elevator pitch
there you go.
Of who I am, or
just like, a little bit of that backstory of, like, you've kind of hinted at some of that, but just to get us to the book.
Yeah, so I, one of 11, grew up in poverty, grew up in abuse and neglect and a bunch of other stuff, and went into foster care when I was in high school. Before that happened, I was entered into school for the first time in high school. I was homeschooled until the middle of my second semester of my freshman year. So school year ends in June. I was entered in March, and was like, hey, figure it out kind of feeling and situation. So I only had 3 years and like 2 months of high school. But I was still able to graduate because I, talked to friends who helped guide me. But during all of that was, foster care and raising my siblings and taking my siblings to school. And like, people don't realize, like, when I say like raising my siblings, it was legitimate. Like, I'm getting up with them at 3 a.m. in the morning to feed the newborn baby.
Dang.
So I get a lot of flashbacks with my son when we have woken up with him in the middle of the night.
Wow.
To my siblings, because I'm like, oh, I remember waking up with my brother at 3 o'clock in the morning and feeding him, and then being up every 3, 4, 5 hours with him or with my little sister. And if they didn't eat, it was because I didn't feed them. If they didn't go to school, it was because I didn't take them. If they didn't have their homework done, it was because I didn't do it with them. Like that was the reality of my life and my teenage years. And so, I got out of high school, I aged out, and immediately was homeless. My CPS worker threw me out. Literally was like, you're not allowed to even go to your sister's house. Like, you need to find a place to go. You're not in the system anymore. You're not my problem. And from 18 to 24, I was homeless, and I moved 33 times. And then from 24 on, I had taken in 5 of my siblings, and then 28 married my husband, and then we have had 2 miscarriages, and then our other 2 children were both our preemie babies and our NICU babies, and we've been just doing that life, the parent life. But I feel like I've always been in 2 different worlds in my whole life, even when raising my siblings at being 24 years old and going to parent meetings, going to the school, trying to get their immunization like I'm a kid, technically.
Dang.
Doing the parent life. And so my friends became older adults who had teenagers versus kids my own age, even in college. And, I stayed in school. I started school in 2009 for my bachelor's. It took me about 8 years to get my bachelor's done, a year to get my master's done because I fast tracked it. I took 2 classes at the same time while raising siblings, working full time. And then I did my PhD in 3.5 years. And I think the reason I fast tracked those 2 things was, I kept saying it was financially, but I think I was so scared to stop that I wasn't going to finish if I took a break. And that, I think that I've recognized that a lot more, is that I have a very big fear of, if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it.
Yeah.
Which is where self-publishing has come in.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, if I don't self-publish it, it's just never going to happen because I can't wait around for a traditional person.
Sure.
So I'm trying to slow down with some things that I've created, like courses and the documentary. I don't want to do it wrong. I want to do it right. So that way people don't look at it and be like, oh, you can tell, that was done too fast, so
there's a balance. Yeah.
So that's I say a lot of that, and most of the time I'm like, yeah, this is what happened, but I know a lot of that is heavy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And it's tough because as someone that and you and I both know this, but like, to honor someone's story, there's that tension of like, if you try to like condense it, and then it's almost like you don't want to.
Yeah, that wasn't the elevator pitch, but I was just like, here.
Yeah, well, it was a great. That was a great. Contextually
going through.
You rocked it,
because it all plays into everything.
Yes,
that's the hard part.
Yep. Yeah. So, yeah, I was kind of. It's interesting because I think we just on some of the creative stuff of like we do like. I mean, you are a visionary creative that. You get after stuff, and I mean that's what I really respect too. Of like you just churn stuff out, and like you're kind of right. I think I don't know if we have a little different like. So like it's interesting for you to say, if I don't get this, if I don't stick with this to get like it's not going to maybe happen.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Like, do you also feel like there's like a pipeline of other things behind that are like, well,
It was a survival
Okay.
mechanism at first, because
Yep.
it was like, if I don't get this job, I can't eat.
Yep.
If I can't eat, then I can't, get my gas to go to school. If I can't
Sure.
go get gas to go to school, I can't get out of poverty.
Yep.
So at first it was a trauma response, and then it kind of stuck. I mean, like, if you looked at my grades for my bachelor's program, I think I ended the program with like 2.6 GPA or 2.8. It was 2.8 GPA, because I had to petition to get into my master's, and I was like right there. Most professors would be like, well, she's really strong when she turns things in, but she's missing assignments, or they're really late. And so I think it became part of like, I need to get this in. And I think I learned that in my master's, is like, I can get the A if I turn everything in.
Yep.
If I don't do it now, it's not going to get done though.
Yeah.
So I would cram a lot of stuff into a weekend, but I also I have been really bad at pacing myself. I think I got used to 8-week courses for my master's and my PhD.
Okay.
That it was like, in 8 weeks, you have to get all of this done. So I'm used to cramming a lot in a little bit of time. But the first thing I would say was it was survival. Like, if I don't have this, I don't have this next thing.
Right. It's a primal need.
Yeah. So it was a primal need, and then it turned into that, which just became a habit.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is done. I'm trying not to do so much out of fear, because fear is where I launch things poorly. My husband is my blue tape. Like, my husband knows this. He has told me this.
Yeah.
We got a home in 2020, and it was a fixer-upper, and we had to paint. I had we had just got the keys, and 2 days later, I lost my job. I was like,
whoops.
Oh my God. Oh dear. So as I'm applying, I'm also working on my dissertation and trying to get the house ready to go. And so, this is so sad. For a really, really long time, we had this paint on the ceiling because I didn't put paint, like tape all around where it shouldn't have touched.
Yep.
And so my husband's like, and there's a spot there that's missing, and a spot there that wasn't done. And most people get offended by this. I started laughing, and then I started crying, because I was like, it's the analogy of my life. God gave me my husband to be my blue tape, to be like, hey, this is a great idea. Let's slow this down to execute it well. Because I'm like, well, if I don't do it now, I'm not going to get it done. And he's like, what would happen if we waited a week? And I'm like, well, then I can't get the furniture in. And it's like, okay, is that really that dire?
Yes.
And I'm like, in my head it was.
Right.
But it's not when we can do it the right way the first time. What I had started to see, and something the hard conversation was, he pointed it out, was because you rushed it, you've had to redo it multiple times, and it costed us more money.
Yep.
And that's where I am starting, like, in the last couple of years, I'm like, let me slow this down. And in all honesty, like, transparency, like, I've learned how to find tools to help me make things better. Like my website, I was able to find an AI software, program, whatever, to help me revamp how my website looked, because I said, I know what I want it to look like. I can't afford to pay someone 10 grand to do what I'm wanting it to do. But if I figure out how to do it, I can make it look like this and initiate this. And it's helped me find a tool that works. Sure. If I can't figure it out, I've reached out to my IT friends. I've said, like, okay, is that a project I really want to do and undertake financially? Like, those are some questions. The hard questions that I have to ask is, that's a great project. Is it doable financially and time-wise now? Yes or no? Okay, no to both. Then I'm going to hold off on that, because I would rather push it out well than not well. And even to, like, the most recent course that I did, I was like, I really want to have this look good. And I can't afford $50,000-$60,000 to record every single video by myself. But what can I find as a tool that would help? And what is strategic about having this video show somebody else talking? And research has actually shown that if we break videos down to shorter, like lectures, over 20 minutes, actually lose your audience, because the brain can't retain information after 20 minutes. So all of my videos are short. But the other thing was, if you're able to have different people present, or different things happen, different graphics on your screen, you're able to make it better for people to retain. So I sat back and I watched a couple of ways that other people were doing it. And then I was like, wait, this is what I want mine to look like. And I found the tools to help me make it look that way. So that way it actually looks good. Because I was like, if
Sure.
I'm going to pay for this, I want this to look good.
Right.
I don't like taking a course and being like, wow, the information was great, but it looked horrible.
Right.
Like I want it to be good.
Yeah.
So there's some projects that I want to do that I'm like, I'm not there yet, and I have to hold off on that. And that's okay.
Yeah.
But it's hard because I'm like, I want that to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So much there that I think is applicable to a lot of people listening on life, and also why we are often, I think most people are with their opposite, that their partner is their exact opposite because of that.
Blue tape.
Those very reasons.
Yep.
Yeah, their blue tape. I love that.
Definitely needed that. It was funny because we were on House Hunters. Fun fact, like me and my family were on House Hunters too. There's an episode out there. And
Nice.
they said like, what would you say is like her weakness? My husband's like, not putting tape on the wall to paint. He's like, I'm her blue tape. And they were like, wait, what? And so we explained it, and I'm like cracking up and like crying because I'm just cracking up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, it's not like
I'm her blue.
Like, he's my blue tape. And so he would just say that like when and he still does to this day. He'll say like if it's a hard conversation, he'll be like, Danisha, I'm your blue tape, right? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, okay, I'm your blue tape. And I'm like, oh, I know what you're gonna say. You gotta hold off. So,
but you keep him probably also like, okay, the next adventure, the next thing we're gonna do, and kind of I mean, so there's that give and take that we also
said that I made him more, not more like ambitious, but like to think of his own things, like to like come up with ideas.
Yeah,
and, like,
that's a great
to execute
way
them.
Sure,
and,
yeah.
Because he's like, sometimes I don't do it, and I'm like, but I think that you do, and he's like, no, not the way that you do. Like I'm like, oh, some people have said like, Danisha, you do way too much, and I'm like, it's hard to hone in on because I'm like, which is why I have like I always say I have two branches to my business. I work with doctoral students and I do foster care stuff.
Yep.
And all that. So it's two branches, and people are always like, oh, that makes more sense. But if I were to say, here's everything I do, it's just a long list of job titles.
Yeah.
But
well, okay. So, that's great. There's not like a great segue from that into this, but we're going to do it. So I will have the link to your book, which I have not finished, but I've read some, and it is great.
Good.
It is great.
Oh, good.
So I'll have to continue the journey of reading it.
Yes.
But I was really struck by a quote, and I'm a big quote guy. So, you have the great line, and this kind of like, to me, is such I want to have you react to a couple things. Well, first of all, before I even like get into a little of the book from my experience, just tell what led to kind of writing it, and what's kind of the overview of the book, taking my voice back.
Taking my voice back, healing what broke me, really came from a lot of the therapy that I was going through, and I had not realized that a lot of what I was doing and saying and reacting to was trying to be heard. And trying to cipher through like, what part of my story do I actually want to say? Because when I was looking at traditionally publishing, a lot of people were like, are you willing to go into the nitty-gritty details of your abuse? And I said, no. And they said, then we're not going to take it because abuse is what sells. And I was like, cool, that's not great. The other thing was a lot of people just don't want memoirs from people who are young without a huge following. So I'm like, whatever.
Sure.
And I'm like, that's fine. I have connections. And they're like, that doesn't matter. We don't see the numbers for you. And I'm like, okay. But I had felt for a really long time that a lot of this stemmed from the abuse of not being able to tell my story the way I wanted to tell it, but also at the same time being told to shush my mouth because, it was a family affair. Like people didn't need to know family details. It was embarrassing. But then there were things in my situation with CPS where they actually said, like, if you say anything, we're going to say that you're a liar, and we'll adopt your siblings out very quickly. They're, white kids with blonde hair, blue eyed. They'll go like that. I'll get them adopted in 2 seconds. Your sister's cute. People will take her up. They'll eat her up to adopt her. Like they'll just go through it real quick. And over the years, I felt like I was screaming, but not being heard. And so as part of writing this out, it was a lot of people would keep saying, like, you have such a voice in the community, but nobody was actually bringing me in to the table.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, this kind of sucks. Like,
Yeah.
I have all this, wisdom that people are saying, but I don't know what to do with it. And I feel that when people are said, here's your story, go write a book, they are required to tell the story the way that they want it to be told, not the way the individual wants to tell their story. So I self-published because I was like, I want to tell my story the way I want to tell
Yeah.
it without having to be afraid. And then talked a lot about healing because that's a big part of where I found so much of my strength is being able to understand what happened and why it happened, and what I could do about it. But a lot of it came down to like people were still saying like, Danisha, are you sure you want to publish this? Because you could get sued. You could get sued because you name that your dad is your abuser. And I was like, well, he's in jail for it, so it's not a lie. Again, the details aren't in there. But
Yeah.
it is that situation of just like, in order to actually feel like you're not screaming internally, you have to heal what's inside that's
Sure.
broken. And a lot of that time you have to go by yourself. You don't get to take everybody with you.
Right.
Which is hard. But my little sister, she drew the cover of the book.
Oh, really? Awesome.
Yeah, so she's an artist. She did that by
There
herself.
it is.
And she actually was like, I'm making the eyes green because your eyes are green, and putting tears there to show like it's not an easy process to have someone hold your mouth closed on your story. But a lot of the time we start to hold our own mouths closed and say like, I can't share this. And it's like, why? Like, it's not hurting anybody, but you're telling the truth. But there's just a lot of, I think, healing that actually took place. I'd always been able to look at, as I was writing the book, I'd always been able to look at like successes of like, okay, I've come this far academically and socioeconomically, but emotionally I always felt like I was stunted. But it wasn't until I was writing this, I was like, wow, I've come a long way. And even since publishing that, I'm like, wow,
Oh,
like,
I'm sure. Yeah.
I've come a long way, even with the neurofeedback and like the other counseling that I jumped in and did.
Right.
So there's a lot of good stuff in there. And I've gone back and been like, let me see my own words, because sometimes I go back to like, oh, I haven't grown. And then I look at it, I'm like, oh, I have.
Yeah.
I have grown.
Wow, that's awesome. Because I mean, this was published what year? I mean, I'm trying to look. It was so.
Oh my gosh, 2023 or
20,
yeah, I think 20,
yeah, okay.
or 2024, something like that. 2023, yep. I think.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a lot. So okay, so you say this. You say this is something you say kind of a third of the way through the book about your own trauma. I do not feel like trauma made me stronger. I feel like my trauma first took all the life out of me. And over time, I realized trauma didn't make me stronger. Healing did. And I was like, wow, I love that. It's profound.
Because people will say that I've always had people who are like, yeah, but it made you stronger. And it didn't. It literally broke me. And like, people don't understand. Like I had someone tell me this morning, they're like, I know everything about you. And I'm like, no, you know what? I've chosen to share. But there was a lot of times where I contemplated taking my own life because of what I went through.
Right.
And so when people are like, yeah, I made you who you are today. And it's like, no, it really didn't. It actually stifled everything. Like it delayed a lot. Like I was far behind a lot of my friends until I wasn't. But it took my ability away of just having a normal relationship with people without assuming that they were just evil.
Right.
And so what healed that was not the trauma. It was going through therapy, finding Christ, going through and reading the Bible, talking about what happened and realizing that that was not normal. And that's what actually helped me and healed me, was the healing, not the trauma itself.
Wow. Very cool.
Imagine if I was all trauma right now and like trying to have these conversations.
Yeah.
It would land so differently.
Right. Yeah, it was just it was a good like paradigm shift back of like kind of reframing what trauma is and did versus what it sort of helped you unlock, I guess. I mean, it was the healing is what because
the healing unlocked it all.
Yes. Yep. And then I'm really curious on a response from you on this, and it's just say what you want to say about this, but chapter 2, you get into generational breakers. And I can just see it in kind of just, don't know you well, but just the times we've interacted. I mean, there's a power in you, a resilience, a strength that, a courage And you talk about a generational breaker as a person who disrupts a bad thing that their family's dismissed for generations. So kind of a key part of your story in that. What I thought was, okay, the two questions I want to ask you on this, starting with, and I know, for sake of time, and you could forever on this, but
you're good.
What was the catalyst, at least out of the original catalyst, or one of them, that helped you to become that generational breaker?
I would have to say my siblings.
Okay.
Like the first thing was, I have to get ready to take them. And if I don't, if I'm not where I need to be, I didn't realize the emotional healing that I needed to go through, but I felt like the economical side, I was like, we don't have money. Our lights are always turned off.
Sure.
This is ridiculous. But I realized like I needed to get it together for them. And I was like 15 when I thought about that. And that was my driver. But over time, like spending time with people, I was like, oh, not everyone's broken. Not everyone has gone through this. This is not normal. And I remember going to my friend's house. I was 15, 16 years old, and her dad cooked steaks.
Okay.
And I was like, what is this meat? And he's like, it's a steak. And I'm like, what is it? I don't know what that is. And I was like, this is really good. And like, he had like mashed potatoes and a salad. And this is going to be maybe, I'm just going to say it. The mashed potatoes tasted good. And the salad wasn't moldy and wasn't dry and gross and wet. And like, it tasted good, and it didn't taste funny. And I'd always like, we had cut mold off food, and we would eat that. Like that was where we were at. Like mashed potatoes, we didn't have seasoning, so it just tasted like milk and potatoes. And there was nothing like food. When I learned like, oh, this is people who have money, they get good food. Now, it was one of those things that kind of pulled me. But I think also, then it kind of turned in from like my siblings and like wanting good food to like, I watched my mom go through all her trauma. And her mom and her were both in foster care. I didn't realize that it was also my great-great-grandma was in foster care. So on her side, it's 3 generations. On my dad's side, there was foster care and CPS involved for a period of time, and abuse on both sides. Like that's just reality. It's like both my parents were abusive. But I would see other families, and I'm like, they don't act like that. And I started to ask them, and I was 19 when this happened. But there was a lady at church who was like, you would be surprised at my husband's journey and my husband's story. And it turned out like he had been abused and all this stuff. And he was just like the kindest man. And I'm like, how did that happen? Because everyone I know just keeps doing the same thing over and over again. And he's like, I worked on it. I stopped making excuses and I addressed it. And then the pastor at the time that I was attending a church, I had basically like been raised there at that point. He had said, it was the church my brother-in-law made me go to. But like I was 15 when he was like, I was 13 when he was like, you have to go here. And I was like, I don't want to go here. And he took me like a kicking and screaming and crying. And I was like, I don't like this guy. And he's like, you're going to love Kev. And I was like, ugh. But Kevin is the pastor still to this day. And at that time he had been talking about legacy. And he took a rope and he like cut it in the middle, and he was like, this is like your legacy of what's happening. And if you cut the middle of this rope of where your family keeps going to the same stuff over and over again, you want to get to a point in your timeline that someone goes, what happened here? Something happened here. And I love that at the time, like I didn't think about this, it was decades later that I was like, oh, this makes sense, is that, we can cut off that where our family is going repeatedly, but it is very easy to pick up that behavior and just tie it back together and be like, it's fine, just keep going. We actually have to say, I don't want to go that way anymore, and do a 180 shift and find people to pull us out of that understanding of that's not normal. And so I started to surround myself with people who were different, who, I would see them as parents and be like, okay, well, your kids like you. You're not fighting all the time. No one's screaming. Like, yeah, you have tiffs here and there, but not like what I'm used to. What is different? You go home, you have your lights on all the time. Ours are off and we don't have water. Like, I want that life. So I think I started to notice at a younger age, like, hey, there's something definitely different about my family. And it's a choice too.
Yeah.
Part of it was
right.
a choice. Like, we were in poverty by choice. My dad did not want my mom working. My dad did not want to change jobs. My dad had 3 classes that he needed to finish on his bachelor's that he refused to finish to get a better income. Like, these were choices. And I think I started to know, just from my mom's side, is like how broken things can just stay broken if you don't deal with it, and then you just compact everything else on top of that. And so I looked at that, and I think because God kind of put people in my life to be like, hey, this is a choice now. That was a huge reason to get out.
Wow.
And then my future kids, then like someone asked the questions of like, do you want your kids to be raised in what you were raised in? And I was like, heck no. And then that's when psychology came in, and I was like, oh, this is not normal. Oh, I can change this though. And so, I didn't know if it was going to work, but I was like, let's pray for the psychology juju to work.
I'm going to take a stand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You either get tired of it or you don't care enough to change it. And I was tired of it being the same story over and over again.
Wow. I think in the, kind of foster care space, that the biggest predictor of a future foster care, in a family is a parent being in. So then it does show that generational arc that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Man. So there's a great line from a poet who says, and this is going to set up the next part of your book, and then we'll get to the finish line in this conversation.
Okay.
He says, I'm blanking on who it was, but he said, I love this line. He said, how did I come so far and on such dark trails? I must have traveled by the faces of those I loved. Kind of gives me chills hearing kind of that in the context of your story.
That's a really good quote.
Yes. Here's what you say, and I would love a response to this, and then we'll kind of move to the final leg of this conversation. You say one path, as we were talking about paths and breaking cycles and things, is to continue moving in the direction your family has come from for generations. And the second path is going in a direction that's different, but not as clear. Okay. I love that setup. And then my question is, and then you referenced the less traveled, like, thank you, Robert Frost.
Yeah.
Has your path at this point now, and even since the book, like you said, has it continued to get more clear? Do you feel like it's okay?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's crazy because I wrote that, and then I'm like, it's kind of funny that's kind of like what I'm doing with neural feedback in my brain.
Yeah.
That's kind of
interesting.
Parallel. Really weird. It is getting more clear. I think it's getting more peaceful too.
Okay.
One of the things that was never really clear for me was when 10 years ago, I was sitting raising my siblings, and relationships destroyed. People gossiping, saying things about me that were just not true. I knew it was the right thing to do, but very much was like, God, I thought you had us. And I thought you said you were going to, I felt like you said you were going to take care of us. And I don't feel like that's happening. I'm doing the right thing and I'm being attacked. And I just kept feeling like he's like, keep going, keep going, keep going. And I'm like, I don't get it. But now looking at it, like, it wasn't until this house that, we owned a home in 2020. We sold that in 2024 and moved into our new home in 2024, at the end of 2024. And we got into this house, and some of my siblings had come over, and we were sitting there, and it was late, and we were talking. And they were getting like food at the counter, and I was sitting on the floor, and I just started crying, and I was like, God, I never thought that they would ever be in my home. I never thought healing would ever happen.
Wow.
I never thought my home would be the home of joy, but I have prayed for decades that my home would be a home that people want to be in and come to and hang out at and talk and have hard conversations.
Sure.
But I went alone at first, where it was like, okay, I'm the one reporting to CPS. I'm the one being targeted. I'm the one having the gossip happen. And then now, 10, 15, 20 years later, I'm starting to have people come on to my side, and they're going, is it really that crazy? Am I crazy for feeling this? Am I crazy for believing, okay, there is that proof. Okay, that is in the file. Okay, that did happen. Oh my gosh, that person was lying. Why didn't you say anything? And I recently had a conversation with one of my siblings where I said, I could have yelled the truth and no one would have ever heard it. You had to see it. And I'm glad you did. But they said, in their file, they looked at it, and it was like over 800 pages for them. Mine was 375. Theirs was over 800 pages. And they said, you were the only one who has ever been consistent in the truth and who told the truth. Everyone else has flip-flopped their story, even today. And they were like, I am so sorry, but even in my file, I see how you were targeted, and everyone was saying you were a horrible person. And so I believed that. And I was just like crying to Mark, and I was like, oh my God, like they see it now. What's going on? Like, who else is going to see it? And he was like, you have to let them come when they come. So we have a choice. Like when we choose to go the opposite route, it does not mean people are going to follow us.
Sure.
And I think that's heartbreaking because we're like, but the truth is over here. It's not clear where the truth is, because that's the lie that people like will believe. Like even to like, I'll give a silly little lie that my family shared was that we were Cherokee Indian and Blackfoot Indian. That's nowhere in our lineage. I did a 23andMe and it doesn't show any of that. Like we are Irish, Scottish, and German, and that's it. There is no Indian in us. But to this day, people are like, no, it's true. No, it's true. Another lie is like, oh, one of my cousins is 6 foot, and she's like, I'm 5'8". Like, I knew it. I thought I was crazy. But it's things like that where it's like everyone's like, why is that a lie we're willing to die on?
Sure.
But we have like going to the other side, it's like you lose a lot. It's not clear if those relationships are going to come back. I can't promise that. I can't promise what healing will look like for each person. But what I can say is, as you get into clearer healing, you do realize it's better. It's more peaceful on this side. There's a lot of chaos living in the lie and the route of my family. There's a lot of, okay, I have to lie about this and I don't remember that lie. And okay, well now I'm going to cover it with alcohol, or I'm going to cover it with food, or I'm going to cover it with chaos or, poverty mindset still. And like on this side, they're just like, wow, you're doing really well. Like, wow, education was a good thing for you. Oh, wow, therapy actually did help you. Oh, but I'm going to still stay in this area. And it's like you can throw the net and just hope that they grab on and pull them in, but it's not your job to make sure they get to the other side. Like they have to actively say, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm going to move to this other side. And my hope is that because I've walked this trail so long, that now the trail is clear for other people, but there's still going to be murky places that they're going to have to figure out themselves
in their own
won't
story.
Be clear. But it is a lot more peaceful being on the side of truth and healing.
Yeah, man, that's so good. I love the peace dynamic you brought in, and then that you're kind of trailblazing a path that's getting more clear, but they will have their own unique bends or shadier places that they'll have to kind of still figure out on their own.
And there's still going to be like, it's like people use the word, but it's like deconstructing what you knew. To really see, like, ask the hard question of like, why can't I challenge that in my family? Why can't I say that hard thing and say, I don't like that this happened? Like, why do we pretend that it was all rainbows and kittens when it was the total opposite? Like, that just doesn't make sense. And it's a hard thing coming out. And I think that's why it's taken over 20 years for me to be like, oh, that was heavy. Oh, that was really bad. Like, because 10 years ago, I was like, it wasn't that bad. 5 years ago, last year, I was like, that's not that bad. That wasn't that bad. It wasn't that big of a deal. And now I'm like, when I say things, I'm like, hey, I know that was heavy. That was a lot. And I'm starting to recognize how heavy what I went through was. And I think that's what's been like, I've mourned a lot more this year than I have ever have. And I think that's because I'm finally understanding, like, first off, it's safe to process, but also it's safe to feel, and it's not manipulative to be like, hey, that thing that's been my life the last 28 years of my life, which really has actually been longer because taking my siblings in too, so it would be like 36 years. It's been a lot, and it's one hit after the other. You're allowed to have feelings over that.
Wow. Yeah. It's great words. Really good. Well, thank you for that. Bring us into some of your story and kind of the lessons and insights you have gained in hard ways and are still learning and processing and healing.
Healing is, I feel like I want it to be over, and it's just like, and there's another one.
There's another layer. Here we go, or whatever. Yeah.
Really?
The path continues. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, let's so we get to the end here. I want to know two last quick things, and you can answer them. Where does Danisha find inspiration today? Where are you getting inspiration in your life?
My kids, for sure. I think it's really interesting when you have children. Like I see myself in my daughter all the time, and like she's just this happy little joyful thing. And then my son looks a lot like me.
Okay.
And I'm starting to notice that they both look like me, and I'm like, oh, this is what I would have been like if I had no trauma. Like this joy, just happy little children. And I mean, like they have their days,
Sure.
you know, and there's challenges, but it's like this is who I would have been, but also not living through them. Like,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of people will say like, I am the parent that I needed as a child. My children don't know trauma, so they don't need Danisha parent of trauma. They
Right.
need, you know, Harper and Asher parent who knows them as an individual. And so I get a lot of inspiration of doing things for them to create a life that they get to learn things and be part of. And I know it's not going to be perfect, but I know that I can do hard things to make their life flourish. And like part of that is the healing. Is like I want to heal myself so I don't go and pass that down to them. And my husband has talked about that a lot. Is, you know, you're doing so much now that they're never gonna look at you and be like, yeah, she was abused, you know, like she was. It's just mom's past coming up. Like they're not going to know. They're probably never going to know a lot of those gross details. They'll just know that mommy had a hard life.
Wow.
You know, age appropriate.
Sure.
But you know, my husband inspires me and friends and people's stories. I always get super inspired by people to where sometimes I'm like, man, I haven't done enough. And then I'm like, hold up.
Yeah.
Hold the phone. Yes, you have.
Yeah.
But it is, you know, people, I get inspired by people.
Very cool. I'm with you on that. And then in SoCal, where you are, if you could design a billboard, what might we see along I-5? I don't know what's a major interstate. I don't even know California at all.
I would get a lot of billboards.
Okay.
And most of them would be like, stop it. Just stop it. Because it's wild out here.
Yeah.
It's wild out here.
Yeah.
We have a lot going on, and a lot of things have been deemed political when they're not. And literally, I'd probably just have a billboard that just says, stop it, be a better human. just stop.
Keep it simple.
And that's my honest opinion. Like,
keep it simple. Just stop.
Because there's a lot out here, and a lot of things that we could prevent that we don't prevent.
Yeah.
And I love California so much, and it's so hard to think of leaving. But you know, we think about it a lot because of the rising costs, the homelessness issues, where it's mostly driven by drugs and alcohol. Yeah, mostly drugs. But you know, it is a state that is falling apart, and people are just like, but it's booming. Yeah. And I'm like, no, it's not. We're not going to be able to live here. Sure. And it breaks my heart to leave, but it is one of those things that it's just like, if that's what we're called to do, we're called to leave. But yeah, the billboard would just be like, stop it, just do better. Just honest opinion.
I think we all need that billboard everywhere.
I need a shirt that just says, just stop it.
Love it.
I want to get a shirt that says that.
It's good call. Let's do that. Okay, so let's talk about finding your stuff, your website, which I'll share. So you have obviously your book. Anything else you want to share that's on the website?
I have lots of fun stuff. Okay. So I recently just launched my Respond course. That's actually a trauma-informed course to help people who are working with anyone who has experienced trauma. I think one of the things we have learned in this world is that a lot of people they dismiss trauma, and they say you can behave whatever way you want to behave because you experienced trauma. Or the other thing is that we know what trauma is, but we don't know what to do with it. And so this course is actually about helping people learn a little bit about the foundations of trauma and the nervous system, but then be able to respond, which means recognize, evaluate, stabilize and protect, orient, navigate, and debrief. To be able to really help someone with trauma come back to and reroute that neural pathway that they learned to how do they need to behave. And it's done in love, not in being ridiculous, but also having to have those hard conversations. I do other things, like I have a business course if people are looking at starting their business, or if they're looking at wanting to get out there and share their story. Like I talk about that, and I work hard to make sure my stuff is good.
Mm-hmm.
But also like my books are on there and everything.
Sweet.
But I do a lot of speaking events. I do a lot of coaching and consulting with companies and businesses and schools to help them. And then, 33 Roofs, the documentary is going to be coming out. It's going to be super cool. Looking through footage and getting all of that together and pieced together to tell a story, which is, I'm taking that slow, I think, a little bit.
Yeah.
But
yes.
it's hard. My husband's like, gotta take it slow. And I'm like, I know, my blue tape. But yeah, you guys can follow along on social media. I try to keep it really real.
Yep.
I try not to get, crazy with things. But I try to be honest because I'm a person before any of those things.
Sure.
But I also think that we need more stories of people who are not just making it successfully in the dollar amount, but actually like healing and being able to have their families. Because like you said, those who have experienced foster care, often it's a higher percent. I think it's like it's high. It's a high percentage. I don't want to say it and it's not the correct. I just know it's a high percentage that will experience foster care with their children. And that's something that I want people to realize, that I think that number is not accurate.
Yeah. That's awesome. So you have a lot of resources to mine on that website and stuff to do that. So we'll have that link. And then big, as you already mentioned, but yeah, your social media presence is awesome. Big platform for that. And so, yeah, that as well. And then the documentary and so many exciting things coming up. So cool.
Yeah.
So
it's going to be a big couple of years, which is scary because I've never been able to look at that. I'm always like, oh, I can't, it's hard.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to get excited for things just to like, let it be exciting,
Yeah. Yeah. Let it be.
Yeah.
Cool. And just stop. So both things. All right.
Just stop. Everybody just be nice.
All right. Well, thanks for hanging out today. It's been awesome.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Hope you enjoyed the episode today. Check out the show notes for any links or resources shared in the episode. If you enjoy the podcast, it would be really appreciated if you'd subscribe, leave a 5-star review, and share it with friends. May we all remember these words from writer Mary Oliver. Instructions for living a life. Pay attention, be astonished, tell about it.